Hello, good morning dear students. We already completed the first very important chapter, that is Introduction to Microeconomics, and we also started the second very important chapter, that is Theory of Consumer Behavior. And I already informed you that second chapter is very important from the examination point of view. According to the last year blueprint, near about 28 marks are given for this chapter, and we already completed the first very interesting part of this chapter, that is cardinal analysis, and we are going to discuss the next very important part is ordinal analysis. But before going to discuss or before going to start the second very important aspect of this chapter, ordinal analysis, dear students, once again I want to discuss all those important topics which we covered in last 5 to 6 sessions. Dear students, the theory of consumer behavior is a very interesting chapter, and in this chapter we studied about how the rational consumer behavior is according to the limited income and unlimited wants. The theory of consumer behavior studies how the consumer spends his limited income to attain maximum level of satisfaction. And the theory of consumer behavior that is explained with the help of a very important concept. That concept is known as, that is, cardinal and ordinal analysis. Okay. And before going to start the two approaches, cardinal and ordinal approaches, it is very essential to know the very simple topic given, that is utility analysis, and this utility analysis is related to the cardinal concept, and that is very important. Let us try to understand all those very interesting things which we covered in the cardinal analysis. Is it clear? Hello my dear students. In the utility analysis, what we discussed, just go through the concept of utility analysis. Yes, utility. So what is the meaning of utility? Utility is want satisfying power of a commodity or a service. Yes, what is utility? Want satisfying power of a commodity or a service. And this utility that is first developed by Jevons, Walras and Menger, and later on popularized by Alfred Marshall and Figo. Okay, utility is nothing but want satisfying power of a commodity, and the term utility possesses some very interesting characteristics. Listen, the term utility, it does not mean satisfaction. Every commodity or every service has its own utility, but that satisfaction that derived only after the consumption of that particular commodity. That means satisfaction denotes realized satisfaction. That is very interesting. That is very interesting point. And utility does not mean usefulness. Take for example, every commodity possesses that is utility, but some commodities are useful and others are not useful. Take for example liquor. Liquor is not a useful commodity, but it satisfies the want of a drunkard. And the concept of utility has no moral consideration. And the term utility is subjective and it is not objective. It means it differs from person to person, place to place and time to time. Okay, come to the next very interesting point, how the utility is measured. The utility is measured in terms of what? And before going to discuss the measurement of utility or the things related to utility, it is very essential to know the meaning of cardinal and ordinal analysis. Yes, these are the two very interesting approaches. The first one, cardinal analysis, and the second one, ordinal analysis. Okay, dear students, these are the two important approaches which have been borrowed from mathematics to study our theory of consumer behavior. Then come to the point, what do you mean by cardinal approach and what do you mean by ordinal approach? Cardinal approach, it is the very interesting point, and the main or chief exponent of the cardinal analysis is Alfred Marshall. And cardinal concept which throw light on the measurement of utility in terms of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 like this, and cardinal numbers can be added, subtracted, multiplied, and it is very easy to measure utility. And another one is given, that is ordinal approach. This is developed by J.R. Hicks and R.G.D. Allen. And according to the ordinal approach, utility that is measured in terms of ranks, just like first rank, that means preference is given, second rank and third rank. So there is a difference between cardinal and ordinal approach. And the difference between cardinal and ordinal approach, it is asked for 4 marks, very important concept. So this is what this is about, cardinal and ordinal approach. And next part that is very interesting, that which we covered in our previous sessions, that is concepts of utility. Yes, dear students, what they are? They are concepts of utility. Concepts of utility. Okay, what this concept includes? What do you mean by concepts of utility? Basically, there are 3 types of concepts are given here. The first one is initial utility, the second one is total utility, and the third one is marginal utility. Yes, dear students, the first one, what is that? Initial utility. What do you mean by initial utility? It refers to the utility which we get from the consumption of first unit. Okay. And the second one, what is that? Total utility. So what do you mean by total utility? So total utility means the amount of utility or the satisfaction the consumer gains from the consuming a given amount of goods or services. Take for example, 6 pedas are there. Which we already discussed. 6 pedas are there. So total utility means the utility which we get from the consumption of all 6 pedas. Then how it is calculated? It is calculated like this: utility derived from the first unit and from the second unit or from the third unit, etc., etc. Or one more important formula is given here: total utility of X commodity, that is equal to summation of marginal utility of this X commodity. Yes, is it clear? So in this way the total utility is calculated. Okay, the next one, that is the third one, marginal utility. What do you mean by marginal utility? Marginal utility means additional utility. Marginal utility means additional utility. How the marginal utility is calculated? We already calculated the very interesting examples. So the formula is given here: delta TU divided by, that is delta Q. So here delta represents, that is change in total utility, that is divided by change in quantity. So this is also the very important concept. Marginal utility, that is means the addition to the total utility, or the marginal utility means the additional satisfaction which will get from the consumption of one more unit. So these are the important things which we covered in the concept of utility. And come to the next very interesting law which we discussed, that is law of diminishing marginal utility. Yes, dear students, law of diminishing marginal utility. What do you mean by law of diminishing marginal utility, and who developed by this? Yes, my dear students, so it is asked for 6 marks, law of diminishing marginal utility. And the law of diminishing marginal utility first time developed by a German economist Gossen, and later on developed by, that is whom, Alfred Marshall. Okay, the first time developed by whom? Gossen, and later on developed by Alfred Marshall. And what is the statement of the law of diminishing marginal utility? As we consume more and more of the same commodity, as we consume more and more of the same commodity, definitely the marginal utility which we get from the additional unit, that goes on declining. And we all know that economic laws are not exact laws like physical laws, and economic laws are purely based upon few important assumptions. What they are given here, few important assumptions. So assumptions, very interesting assumptions are given. So units of consumption must and should be standard units, and the second one must be identical. What it means? It means nothing but same. Whatever we consumed, the units neither too big nor too small, it means standard. And the second one, they remains the same or identical in color, in size, or in taste, etc. And no time gap between the consumption of 2 to 3 units, no time gap. The consumption must and should be continuous. And the fourth one, the consumer must and should be what? Rational. So given these assumptions, the law is, under these conditions, the law is possible, otherwise no chance. And the concept of the law of diminishing marginal utility, that is explained with the help of a diagram, and that is numerical example which we already discussed. Okay, so see here, according to the numerical example which we discussed, so how the marginal utility curve and how the total utility curve, just I want to show here, this is the marginal utility curve, and dear students, this is the total utility curve. So from this diagram, it is clear that as we consume more and more, definitely the marginal utility goes on declining, and okay, the total utility goes on increasing but at a decreasing rate. So this is the diagram related to the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, and this law is not applicable in case of rare collections like stamp collections or antiques or paintings, and it is not applicable to money, it is not applicable to knowledge or art or innovations, and it is not applicable to precious goods like diamond, gold, etc. And this law is not applicable to irrational manner, it is not applicable to beauty, and it is not applicable to fashion. So dear students, in spite of these all limitations, the law is very useful to frame, that is policies related to taxation, and this law is very useful to the consumer to get the maximum level of satisfaction, etc. So this is about what? The law of diminishing marginal utility. And come to the next very important topic. What is that? That is about budget line and budget set. One is budget line and another one is budget set. Budget line and budget set. So what do you mean by budget line and what do you mean by budget set? Okay, budget line is nothing but a locus of different combinations of the two goods which the consumer consumes and whose cost exactly equal to his income. What is budget line? So it is a locus of different, that is points which the consumer go through the line of two goods and whose cost exactly equal to his income. Okay, and come to the next one. So what is budget set? So this is a very interesting point. It is a collection of all bundles. What is budget set? Yes, dear students, it is a collection of all bundles. It is a collection of all bundles. It is a collection of all bundles available to the consumer. Yes, it is a collection of all bundles available to the consumer at a given market price. This is the very interesting point. It is given market price at a given level of income. Given price and given level of income. These two are very important. Yes. Come to the point. What is a budget set? It is a collection of all bundles available to the consumer at the prevailing market price at a given level of income. And this budget set is already explained with the help of one numerical example. Just I want to show you the diagram, whatever we discussed in the previous sessions. Yes, my dear students, this is OX and this is OY. And this is the budget line. So this is the budget line, and throughout this budget line different combinations are there. J is here and I is here, H is here, G is here, F is here and E is here. So with these different combinations, the consumer that to try to get the maximum level of satisfaction. If here is the point, so it is underspent, and if here it is the point, unattainable combination. So this is our budget line. So what is the budget line? The name of the budget line is AB. AB is the budget line, and the consumer is always go through these all combinations. If he is here, that is C, that means it is beyond our income level. If it is D, that means here underspent. So this is about the budget line and budget set. Then come to the next one, properties of budget line, which we already discussed in our previous sessions. Properties means what, dear students? Characteristics. So budget line always slopes downward. Okay, what is the budget line? It slopes like this. Yes, it slopes downward, and the cost of the budget line, that is equal to his income. This is the second one. That is the second one. Always cost is equal to his income. Cost, whatever he spends, that is equal to his income. This is the very interesting point. These are the two important properties of budget line. And one thing 100% sure, the budget line slopes downward. So how the slope of the budget line is calculated? We all know that if a consumer wants to purchase more of one commodity, he has to give up or to sacrifice another commodity. Therefore, the slope of the budget line is calculated. Yes, dear students, the slope of the budget line is calculated. Units of, in our example, whatever we discussed, units of bananas willing to sacrifice. Yes, units of bananas willing to sacrifice, that is divided by units of apples willing to gain. Units of apples, that is willing to gain. Yes, the point is here, the units of apple willing to gain. If you want to purchase more of apple, then definitely you have to give up bananas. This is the very interesting point. Yes, and the slope of the budget line, that is always equals to price ratio. Then the question arises, so what do you mean by price ratio? It is the price of the good on the horizontal axis divided by the price of the good on the vertical axis, dear students. So what is a price ratio? Yes, how it is calculated? So the price ratio is the price of the commodity, whatever that is given on horizontal axis, divided by the price that commodity that is given on the vertical axis, that is price of x, that is divided by price of y. Okay, then we have to know what is the shape of the budget line, dear students. Okay, this is our budget line. Am I right? So this is the budget line. So the one question arises, is budget line shifts? Is budget line shifts? This is the question. So the answer is yes, the budget line shifts. Now when the budget line shifts, under two conditions the budget line shifts: when the income of the consumer changes, right, the budget line shifts; when the price of the commodity changes, the budget line shifts. Once again I will repeat, when the income of the consumer changes, the budget line shifts, and another one, when the price of the commodity changes, budget line shifts, which we already explained with the help of diagrams. See here, when the income of the consumer changes, so how is it possible? This is OX, this is OY. Yes, dear students, this is your original budget line. What is this? This is AB. Okay, when your income increases, then definitely budget line shifts. So towards right, A1, B1. When your income decreases, towards left, A2, B2. When your income increases, so it shifts this side. When your income decreases, it shifts left side. So this is what, there is a possibility of change in the budget line. And in the same manner, when the price of the commodity changes, the budget line also shifts. See here. So this is the budget line. Yes, my dear students. Yes, this is A, this is B. So original budget line. If take for example, so on x axis apple is given and on O axis banana is given. If the price of apple decreases, then definitely we purchase more of apples. So the budget line shifts towards right. So when the price of another commodity, check here. So this is banana and this is apple. This is our original budget line. So when the price of banana, that what happens, increases, then definitely we consume less of banana. Is it clear? Originally this is the point. So when the price of the banana increases, then definitely we consume less of banana. So in this way, the budget line shifts in two conditions: when the income of the consumer changes, and another when the price of the commodity changes. So this is about what? This is about, yes, my dear students, cardinal analysis or cardinal approach. Yes, too many questions are there. So whatever we discussed here, yes, see here, what do you mean by utility? Okay, the who developed the concept of utility, who popularized the concept of utility? Yes, for 1 marks questions, and features for 2 or 4 marks questions, 2 or 4 marks questions. Yes, is it clear? And the concepts of utility, that is a very interesting point, that how the utility is calculated. Okay, and cardinal analysis, and another one is ordinal analysis. So what do you mean by cardinal and what do you mean by ordinal for 1 marks or for 2 marks? So the difference between cardinal and ordinal analysis. Is it clear? The very interesting for 4 marks also. And the concepts of utility, what is initial utility? Yes, it is for 1 marks, or for total utility. So and marginal utility for 2 marks. So the difference between these two for 4 marks. Yes, and the law of diminishing marginal utility it is for 6 marks. Yes, is it clear? And then the another very interesting topic, whatever we just discussed, what is budget line, what is budget set. So 1 mark each. The difference between these two for 4 marks. And for project and assignment question is there, that is about budget set, it is for 5 marks. Yes, dear students. And the properties of budget line, so that is for 2 marks. Okay. And another very important topic, that is shift in budget line. Shift in what? Budget line. It is also for 4 marks. Yes, dear students, these all are the very interesting points which we covered in the cardinal analysis. Okay, in the next session, yes, we are going to discuss about the very important topic, ordinal concept. Ordinal concept. So, who developed the ordinal concept? What is the important concept given in the ordinal analysis? We'll discuss in the next session. Take care. Stay happy.